Let's go. We're right at the start of chapter 6, and look at this familiar... Oh, hello. Look at this familiar place we're in.
I knew you could do it.
Look at that. Thank you. Look at this familiar locale we find ourselves in. Oh boy, everything's freaking the fuck out. Uh-oh. I can't believe we're in Tron. Huh? That's weird. This is the hallway I walked through to get to the gymnasium, but it's clearly different. Is this Monokuma's doing too? Is he trying to confuse us again? I don't know how he's doing it, but he keeps doing it over and over again. He's so persistent. But I'm not going to fall for his trap. There's no way this will make me back down. Bruh. This is the 5th floor. Oh my god. Everything's freaking out. This hallway, there's a strange feeling to it, no? As if an invisible wall has been erected to limit our movement. She said erected. Is it just me? No, I'm pretty sure it's not, dude. I feel like I know which door. Oh, I guess this one's open? That's not open. Can I go in here? Into the dojo? Dojo. Is this a dojo? It's full of strange things that make me think there's no way we're inside a school. Perhaps it's a mistake to expect the inside of this building to make sense. We're in a non-Euclidean school building. Oh god. Look, there's still cameras. Does this have the same purpose as the cameras on Jabberwock Island? Who's watching us? Dude, I have no idea what to expect out of this last chapter. I've pretty much thrown all my expectations out the window after last stream. There are a bunch of wooden lockers here. Each of them has a traditional looking woodblock key sticking out of them. I guess they're just for show. There's nothing in particular that looks like a clue. There's a straw post. I guess that means it was used for training. The cherry tree is proudly displaying its full blossoms. The falling petals add to the elegance of the scene. If Hyoko and Pekka were here, it would have truly looked picturesque. For their sakes as well, I will definitely go home. That target seems pretty far away. If the production team had more time, there could have been a mini game here. Wait, what am I saying? What are you saying, brother? Cherry tree. Maybe a tasteful sight to see a blooming cherry tree inside a dojo. But in this situation, it just looks bizarre. Another monitor. Look at the armor, dude. It's armor and a helmet. Did the map developers design this to reflect a Japanese dojo? Hajime, you're tripping out, dude. What's this? What is this? Is this a manga? The title is Manga for Morons, A History of Hope's Peak Academy by Monokuma. Why is a manga with such a suspicious looking title laying out in the open like this? Let's start with history first, class.
Hey!
Reading manga is the third best way to learn about history. Then what's the first, you ask? That depends on the person. So, just as I thought, Monokuma made this. That totally explains how suspicious it looks. Look at it, dude. You got a little QB and a little Madoka looking girl. I really want to just ignore it, but there's no way I can do that. Fine, I'll look at it. I'll look at anything that might be a clue to getting out of here, no matter what it is. I picked up the manga off the floor and started flipping through the pages. It's an introduction to Hope's Peak Academy's history, as narrated by the cutesy character on the cover. Look, she even has a little fang. The story begins with an introduction to Hope's Peak Academy. Hope's Peak Academy is a government-funded school of privilege where only the most talented high school students can hope to attend. Built to raise hope in the nation's future, many of its alumni are key leaders of various industries. New students are chosen through a scouting process, but the ones who scout them are Hope's Peak Academy's teachers, who serve as both educators and researchers of talent. Hope's Peak Academy isn't just a school for talent, it's also a school for researching talent as well. However, for the past few years, Hope's Peak Academy has been suffering from a decline in funding. If this persists, the Academy believes they will not be able to make progress with their research of talent. So they decided to implement a new system, the Reserve Department. Unlike the main department who scouts for students, the Reserve Department utilizes a general entrance exam. Normal faculty was hired and placed in charge of looking after the Reserve Department. The expenses and exam fees for the Reserve Department are quite high compared to most high schools. Nevertheless, Hope's Peak Academy received an endless stream of applicants. Hope's Peak Academy was now available to talentless commoners, people who only cared about the brand. With this, Hope's Peak Academy managed to amass sizable funds and began further research of talent. To create Hope's Peak Academy's earnest wish, a true genius who would become mankind's hope. But just when they thought everything was going well, an unprecedented incident occurred. The incident that triggered the tragedy. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. That's right, it was the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Hope's Peak Academy was crippled by this incident and was forced to shut down without accomplishing anything. The end. RIP. Huh? The ending was so sudden, like a manga that's suddenly canceled in the middle of its run. Plus, these phrases mentioned at the end of this manga, the tragedy and the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy, these names are so melodramatic. There's no way these incidents really happened, right? This manga only mentions the names, so I don't really know the details, but no, it'd just be a waste of time to wonder about things that don't make sense. More importantly, I learned something because of this manga. The Reserve Department. That department was only built to collect money. I was one of those reserve course students, right?
But hold on.
That's weird. Oh, you're here again. Ah, the thing that's weird is you, of course. Huh?
Hey!
Why did you forget that you were part of the Reserve Department? The Future Foundation only took away your school life memories, right? But you should have known even before you entered that you had no talent, right? So I think it's weird that you actually forgot something like that, too. What do you want me to say?
By the way...
Based on my assumption, the Future Foundation must have wanted to hide the fact that you were one of those reserve course students.
I got it!
Or you willingly sealed those memories yourself. Huh? You wanted to be confident in yourself, so you wanted to forget everything that embarrassed you. You know, when humans experience trauma, sometimes they erase their memory of what happened. It happens pretty often. Not that I'd know anything about that, though. Are you saying it's my fault I forgot? That's not it.
Come on!
When things get inconvenient, you always get angry and try to brush it off. Well, that's expected of a reserve course student. Damn it, what the heck? Oh god, we're already getting truth bullets? Oh man. I guess we are in the investigation phase, huh? This whole thing is an investigation. Oh, we're back in the freaking out HUD. Dude, look at this all falling apart. What is going on, dude?
What's going on?
This hallway is kind of creepy. I can't go to places that I should be able to go to. It's like some rule is being enforced for no reason. It's like there's an invisible wall or something. Yeah. It's like that. Oh. This hallway wasn't ominous enough in the first game. Now we gotta walk through the Matrix. It's closed anyways. Dude, what is going on? This is so weird. Can I go back in here? I guess back in here. I haven't been in here yet. Look, more obviously suspicious shit. Gotta mash through all these things first. Free XP. Shit. Yeah, there's cameras and bars and clocks and TVs. You say the same thing for all of them, Hajime. Another book. This is another manga. It's laying on top of the desk. Is it? I think it's like hovering there. The perspective's all wrong. This one is Manga for Morons, The Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Huh. Wasn't The Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy mentioned in that other manga too? It's why Hope's Peak Academy went bankrupt, and it was the trigger for the biggest, most tragic, most awful event in human history. If I read this manga, will I be able to learn a little more about that incident? Ooh, look at this. It's like a crime thriller. Look at that chiseled jaw. I took the manga from the desk and started flipping through the pages to see what I could learn about the event known as the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. The story made heavy use of outdated stylized drawings depicting characters solving mysteries. Gun. What's written here is, as the name suggests, the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy occurred at Hope's Peak Academy. The key player in that event was a student named Izuru Kamukura. Uh-oh, that's a new name. Uh-oh. Izuru was a genius known as a symbol of hope. Hope's Peak Academy used all their resources to develop him. Supposedly, Izuru was a genius among geniuses and possessed various talents. Wielding superior talent for the hope of mankind, that academy referred to Izuru as... Wow, Nightbot is a hater. The ultimate hope. I guess I should tell Nightbot to calm down, huh? To protect such rare talent, the academy completely concealed all evidence of Izuru's origins and identity. Because of that, most of the students at the academy were completely unaware of Izuru's existence. I'm gonna turn Nightbot down. He's going nuts. Disable. Alright, he should be fine now. I didn't know he would be so aggressive on the default settings. Sheesh. Because of that, most of the students at the academy were completely unaware of Izuru's existence. But Izuru, who is known as the symbol of hope, was responsible for a horrible incident. 13 students of Hope's Peak Academy's student council, among the academy's best and brightest, were brutally murdered by Izuru. Oh. That's a lot. He killed 13 people? However, the incident did not end there. The academy tried to protect Izuru's superior talent and concealed the incident as though it never happened. However, a certain student began working in secret to use that incident to their advantage. That student uncovered what the academy did, and by making that knowledge public, it stoked the fires of the reserve corps students who had long been dissatisfied with how they'd been treated, and the uprising began. And that heralded Hope's Peak Academy's destruction. Gamers rise up. This is the entirety of the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Eventually, that incident would lead to that horrifying, devastating incident. The incident that would be known as the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. Works cited, Danganronpa 0. Shit, do I gotta go read Danganronpa 0 now? Isn't that a light novel? With a heavy sigh, I closed the manga. Am I supposed to believe this? There's no way 13 people were killed at Hope's Peak Academy. What irony! For a genius known as the ultimate hope to cause such a gruesome incident. A talent like that is too regal for society. It's like trying to buy juice with a bar of gold. You should be lucky that you're incompetent. Is it worth reading? Danganronpa 0? Damn it, he always has to lead up to something offensive. He seriously pisses me off. But ultimate hope. Nagito mentioned that before too, but it looks like it means something completely different here. What Nagito said was the true meaning of hope. But for Izuru, hope simply means talent. More importantly, a genius who possesses various talents. I wish they'd given me one of those talents so I didn't have to be in the reserve department. That's right, the reserve department. here it said that the reserve corps students in the reserve department idolized gamers so much that they emulated them and rose up. Then what about me? Was I a participant too? No, that's not possible. There's no way. I have no reason to do something like that. Yeah, that's what you think, brother. Anyway, I've learned about the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy, but the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history is a far worse incident, right? What kind of incident was it? And who's this other student that isn't Izuru? A certain student who secretly used the incident to their advantage. Who's that? This incident's really messed up, but all it's doing is raising more questions. The mysteries just keep piling up. As mysteries are wont to do. Alright, how's the layout going to be different now? Is anybody standing around out here now? Now do I get to go back to the morgue? Das Morgan. Yep, I can go in here now. It's fucking raw! Yasuru Queen Kura. Look, more manga. What the hell's with this room? It's freaking cold in here. It's like I'm in a freezer or something. If I just stand still, I might end up freezing to death. I should hurry up and investigate so I can get out of here already. Another camera. Another televideo. Tarps. This looks like a plastic tarp. Why is this left out like this? Clean up after yourselves, will you? Right? Hell yeah, brother. I've seen this in movies before. It's a refrigerator for preserving dead bodies. At least that's what it looks like, but that's not possible, right? Keeping dead bodies in a high school biolab isn't something you should joke about. Oh, it's not a joke, trust me. It just feels so forced. This idea should have been canceled during development or something. What am I thinking? Look at this dude. Look at this sneaky lad.
I've been found.
You thought you were sneaky. Alright, what do we got here? There's another manga just laying around here. This time the title is Manga for Morons, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history! Exclamation mark, question mark? I knew it. The next one would obviously be about this incident. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history, huh? Just what was that incident really all about? It might turn out to be something lame. I flipped through the pages of the manga and hoped that I was right. Dude, look at that cover. She's freaking out. Uh-oh, we got the crazy eyes background. A story about creepily drawn characters who get involved in such horrifying incidents. An incident known as the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. Is this drawn so grotesquely because the incident itself is that grotesque? I can't believe they got Junji Ito to draw manga for them. Anyway, the beginning of this creepy manga starts with this sentence. The tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy was simply the trigger. At first, the uprising by the Reserve Corps students that triggered the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy was initially hoped to be resolved quickly, but the situation continued to escalate to dangerous extremes. The movement started spreading all over the internet and fostered a thriving online community. Fucking Reddit. The community was not limited to students, and people of various races and nationalities began joining in. But the movement was not confined to the internet and began spreading and eroding the real world. When the movement started, it was indistinguishable from any other demonstration inspired by social unrest. But as it spread across the world, certain abnormalities soon came to light. By then, it was too late. The ends and the means had vanished, and wanton destruction became their only goal. The strong butchered the weak killed the weakest among them, and soon the weak formed factions to brutally murder the strong. As the violence and death continued to spread, the shock of their actions began to disappear, as if the era was regressing to more uncivilized times when senseless deaths were the norm. The media was oversaturated with deaths to the point where people would watch them while enjoying a meal. By the time the world realized what it had become, it was too late to stop what had happened. a feeling of immense despair began spreading and eventually engulfed the world. Acts of terrorism and coups d'etats began occurring around the world, a war waged in the name of despair. A war fought not for principles, religion, or personal gain, just war. Pure war. And because of that, there was no way to resolve it. How could a movement started by high school students progress to such a hopeless scenario? The only explanation is the existence of a certain organization devoted to a certain student who influenced Hope's Peak Academy, a group called Ultimate Despair. Instead of using Hope's Peak Academy's talents for the sake of mankind's hope, they used them for the sake of mankind's despair. Key members of society used their influence to brainwash the masses in order to spread despair. Tech-savvy computer programmers wrote software to spread despair. The powerful and influential created new values and morals to spread despair. And with this, they created the tragedy, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. As long as ultimate despair exists, the despair engulfing the world will never end. The tragedy will never end. My heart was racing in my chest, but my body felt ice cold. And it wasn't because I was freezing in this room. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history? This is definitely all made up. I mean, if this is really true, then what's happening in the outside world? My family, my friends, the convenience store I frequent, the nearby bookstore, my favorite restaurant. What's happened to them?
No way!
Hey, are you seriously yelling at a manga? How crazy are you? Who would enjoy reading something like this?
What?
Oh my, you don't like manga? A high school student who doesn't like manga is like an office lady who doesn't like to eat candy. Enough. What is this messed up manga? I thought you'd obviously know about such a horrible event that destroyed the world, but for you not to remember that? Such despair. That's the Future Foundation's fault, though, thanks to them stealing your school memories. The incident that happened during that period has been completely removed from your brains. This incident really happened and I actually forgot about it? There's no way that's possible.
What are you saying?
How many times do I have to tell you? All the clues here are real. Please understand, I'm rooting for you. If you don't learn about the full extent of the outside world, you guys will suffer for it. I just want to help you guys so you can live well-adjusted lives in the outside world. I see, so that's how it is. That's what he meant by what he said at the beginning. Row, row, fight the hope. Rip. Whether you want to leave the island at all. He's trying to make us feel despair toward the outside world so that we'll want to stay on the island. But there's no way I'm going to do what he wants. Despair like that simply can't exist. The outside world should be filled with hope. Just like now. Perhaps... No, that's definitely it. Level up. The tragedy has been added. Whether or not this incident really happened, what in the world is this ultimate despair group? If they're devoted to a certain student who guided Hope's Peak Academy to its destruction, are they connected to both the tragedy and the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy? Plus, that organization isn't just one person, but a group of people? But if they're known as the Ultimate Despair, they're high school students, right? Well, if they were actually able to do it, then I guess that's why they were called Ultimates. Then, are the killings we're involved in connected to them as well? It's no use. I'm going to freeze to death. I'm at my limit. I need to get out of here. Shivering, I ran out of the freezing room. Oh my god, get the fuck out of here. Phew, that was close. I nearly froze to death. So where should I go next? I don't know. There's the bloody room. Is the stairwell open yet? No? Ooh, this room's open. 5B. Hey, it says despair now. Not a violin. No, I should ignore it. I'm just gonna pretend I didn't see him. Yeah, good luck. Wait, what did it say? It's meaningless? It's meaningless to look at the clock. It's meaningless. Free XP. Fuyuhiko, my lad.
Jeez.
When I went inside this room, that bastard bear was suddenly here. He keeps glancing at me. I wonder why. It's gonna be shitty either way.
Damn
So I'll let you handle it. There's no way I'm gonna deal with that idiot. I don't want to do that either. Any Monokumas hidden in the ceiling? Nope, I don't see any. Alright, bear, what do you want?
Hiya.
Why, hello, Hajime. I hope you're doing pleasantly well. Are you pleasingly well? You're pleasingly well, right? What are you doing here?
No.
Well, there was another thing I needed to tell you on this floor. I got bored of drawing manga. Can you forgive me for telling you by word of mouth? You should have done that from the beginning. I didn't want to read your manga in the first place. A high school student who doesn't like manga is like a sumo wrestler who doesn't like eating hot pots. I'm getting really fed up with your babbling. Hurry up. What do you need to tell me? It's about that key piece of information you've been waiting so long for.
What?
Surprise! It's about ultimate despair. Huh? Ahem. Even though the term ultimate despair refers to a group these days,
Actually,
it was originally the title for a high school girl who was the most powerful, evil, and feared person alive. A high school girl?
yes, indeed.
Lady Junko Inoshima. Yo, I know her. Junko Inoshima?
Hey.
As the former ultimate despair, she created a despair brimming with charm and humor, and created the ultimate despairs. There was one really horrible person in that group.
Don't fuck with me.
Hold on a sec. I don't know what the ultimate despairs are, but it's not that easy to form an organization. There's no way people would join some fucked up organization created by a high school girl.
Unbelievable.
Humans who are obsessed with their philosophy have an uncanny power to attract others. It's a trait shared by many famous leaders throughout history, right? There's nothing strange about it.
Hey.
That holds true for Lady Junko. With her charismatic ability to attract people, she even influenced those in the highest echelons of power. Her connections were the main reason that incident became the tragedy in the first place. So she even recruited people who would have been in a position to neutralize the threat?
Huh?
Then what was their purpose?
Huh?
What? Well, like I said, why did they cause that incident? It doesn't even make sense. They had a purpose, right? There's no way they'd do what they did without any purpose.
Hey.
It was Junko Inoshima's despair. Huh? For Junko Inoshima, despair isn't about purpose, a set of principles, a way of life, or an instinct. Despair is what defines Junko Inoshima as Junko Inoshima. What are you saying? I'm a stuffed plushie. Hajime is a human. It's exactly like that. Junko Inoshima is so full of so much despair that she's truly hopeless. Living, dying, eating, loving, for her, everything is despair. What the hell? With her overwhelming force of personality, Junko recruited the ultimate despairs one by one. She controlled their despair by taking advantage of their love, hate, grudges, anything really. Junko's despair is far more dreadful than any other. That idea had been slammed right into their minds. And so, the ultimate despairs who had been recruited became nothing more than Junko's limbs. All despair, whether it was their own or anyone else's, was dedicated to Junko Inoshima. Like believers making offerings to their god. Like a mother providing food to her children. They dedicated all despair so they could escape from despair, all in Junko Inoshima's name. For example, they killed their families and friends and even destroyed their bodies through relentless mutilation. And to hopelessly top it off, they completely believed it was something they had to do. There's no way something that crazy is possible.
What?
Do you know about the final days of the Reserve Corps students during the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy? The final days?
In other words,
Junko has the power to change people's values. This is also true of famous people throughout history. Hey, what do you mean final days? What happened to the reserve department?
of course.
They fulfilled their roles as disposable limbs. They believed in what they needed to do. And so, the 2,357 students of the reserve department all committed mass suicide. Oh my god. Mass suicide?
What'd you say?
All 2,357 students? Oops, it wasn't all of them. One person was excluded. One person was excluded. Huh? Is that me?
Damn it.
I don't believe it. There's no way I can believe this. Ultimate Despair? Junko Enoshima? It doesn't scare me at all. I mean,
Bastard.
Junko Enoshima's already dead. Huh? Ultimate Despair has been added to the Truth Bullets section. Reserve Department has been updated. Is Jisatsu suicide? Jisatsu? Hey, Fuyuhiko, is it true what you said? Junko Enoshima's really dead?
Huh?
What, you didn't see? There's a book called Manga for Morons, Killing School Life in that bloody classroom. A bloody classroom? No, wait, what was that you said about the Killing School Life? Like the killings we were involved in, they were killings that happened at Hope's Peak Academy. As I recall, the mastermind took her own life because the remaining students worked together to defeat her.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. And Killing School Life ended up failing in the end. As a result, the 6 students who survived managed to escape from the academy.
Hey.
For a manga about the Killing School Life, it was drawn with a lot of silly images and dumb gags. According to that, the mastermind behind the failed Killing School Life was Junko Enoshima. The mastermind took her own life, which means that Junko Enoshima is dead.
Like,
Dude, if she's not dead, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. It was the juiciest death. She painted the walls and ceilings. It turns out that this Killing School Life was part of that whole biggest, most awful whatever incident. Junko took away the memories of her former students of Hope's Peak Academy and forced them to kill each other. You okay there? Why? Your cat running on your keyboard? Former students of Hope's Peak Academy, and she took away their memories. That's just like us. Apparently, the whole thing was being filmed by surveillance cameras and broadcast worldwide. There's a limit to being a cruel asshole. The surveillance cameras were broadcasting the whole thing?
so.
The students of Hope's Peak Academy are widely known as symbols of hope. By forcing people to watch these symbols of hope kill each other for the sake of survival, they're trying to fill everyone who watched the broadcast with despair all at once. That's messed up.
Huh.
But that messed up plan was stopped. Junko Enoshima failed. Junko lost to the students she placed in her trap, and after being overcome by the despair she created, she took her own life. Then Junko is no more. Stop ellipsizing, Monokuma, I swear to God. No matter how horrible she was, there's no reason to fear someone who's dead. Whether Monokuma's story is true or not doesn't matter.
Bastard.
Junko Enoshima isn't alive anymore. Then, who is our enemy? Monokuma, stop it. I swear to God. If Junko Enoshima is already dead, are the rest of the Ultimate Despairs behind this? Are the followers of Junko carrying out her will? That's the only thing I can think of, which means it's going to be wrong. I mean, the killings we're involved in resemble that Killing School Life. Well, I don't know who the hell is imitating Junko and making us go through this, but an imitation's just that, an imitation.
No shit.
If the students from Hope's Peak Academy stop the real deal, there's no way we'll lose to some fake. But if this is really an imitation, are those surveillance cameras the same too? The cameras all over Jabberwock Island? Are they broadcasting to somewhere just like the surveillance cameras during the Killing School life? Boom. Boom. Man, Hajime, you totally know about that story, huh? What, do you have a problem with that? Well, I really wanted you to read the manga version since I took the time to draw it.
What are you
Oh,
gonna
well,
do?
I'll just raise the flag. Flag? What do you mean raise the flag? What's going to happen if you do that?
Ooh,
One step at a time, you're getting closer to clearing my character out. You're not making sense again.
well now.
Now then, I'll give you guys my all. I'll tell you everything I know, including information on the outside and the inside. I'll raise them flags like crazy. Uh-oh.
What?
What a surprise. Do you want to hear about the ultimate despairs again? No, I don't really need you to...
Hey.
Even though the term... Wait, is he just saying the same thing? Why are you... He just started on his own. Wait. Stop. You already said all this. Monokuma, you're broken. It's fine already. You don't have to keep explaining.
What?
Huh? It's fine already, but I'm just getting to the good part. Good part or not, I've already heard this from you before. Okay. Lol.